Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hi, welcome to our seminar. So for today, in this seminar, my friends and I will talk about the gun right versus gun control. So for our outlines, at the first part of the introductions, we're going to talk about the history, who are the first person who created the guns, and also history when the people start to use the gun. And then we're going to talk about several type of the guns. And for our main content today, we're going to separate it into two parts. The first part we're going to talk about the gun rights, and the second part we're going to talk about the gun control. And lastly, to conclude our seminar, we're going to summarize about our gun right versus gun control and give about the Islamic perspective regarding to this gun rights versus gun control. So as I said before, so let's start our seminar today with the introductions regarding the history, who are the first person who created the guns. So the first person who created the gun is John Moses Browning. So John Moses Browning, also known as the father of modern firearms. Then a lot of guns was manufactured based on Browning's idea. And for your information, at the age of the 24, Browning received his first patent, which is the rifle that manufactured by the Winchester as its single shot model 1885. And during 1888, his patent for the first shotgun. And also, Browning received first patent for the fully crewed automatic weapon that captured the gases at the muzzle. And also, for his career, about more than 5 decades, Browning's guns from just a classic weapon for the American West, becoming a deadly tools for the World War carnage. So let's move to the next part, which is the history when people start to use the gun. Actually, people start to use the gun during the war, and in this part I'm going to highlight the guns that being used in the war. And so now let's move to the first war, which is the first modern war. First modern war is known as the American Civil War, and this war is featured by the usage of all categorical of the weapons, including the submarines, the machine guns, and also the repeating rifle. And during the first battle of the Bull Run, which happened during the 21st July 1861, the close pack formations of the men start to use the volleys of the rifle fire. And in this time also, which is 1861, the Union Army of the Civil War using the Springfield rifle of the Springfield rifle musket, which is the standard rifle. So now let's move to the second war. So the second war is the World War I that happened during the 1914 after the assassinations of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand and last until 1918. And this conflict involved with the Germany, Austria-Hungary, Bulgaria, and also with the Ottoman Empire, that known as the Central Power, whereby it fought against the Great Britain, with the Japan, Russia, France, and also with the United States, that known as the Allied Powers. And during this war, the Britain and also the Commonwealth using the rifle, which the type is the Lee Enfield 303, and also a lot of the machine guns were using during this war. And that's all for the World War I. And now let's move to the World War II. So World War II happened during the September 1 of the 1939 until September 2 of the 1945. The primary combatant that involved with this World War II is the Axis nations of the Nazi Germany, the Fascist Italy, the Imperial Japans, with the Great Britain with its Commonwealth nations, the Soviet Union, and also with the United States. And during this World War II, the weapon used is the M1 Garand, the Thompson submachine gun, and also the MG34, and also the rifle Lee Enfield. So now I will pass this seminar to my friends that will talk about the types of the guns.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurul Alisa binti Azim. My matric number 1812968. So today I would like to explain to all of you about the whole definition of firearm. the gun classification, and also the types of gun. The US Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives defines firearms as any weapon which will or be designed to expel a projectile by the action of an explosive. Or in other words, if you have a tube or a projectile, and the projectile is designed to fly out of the tube, and the result may be the explosive action, so it means that you have firearm. So this is the broad definition of firearm, from the potato guns to the fully automatic machine guns, and I hope you guys get the basic idea of what a gun is. Gun can be classified into two groups, which are fully automatic guns and semi-automatic guns. First of all, I would like to tell you about the fully automatic machine guns. Fully automatic weapon will fire multiple bullets as long as the trigger is released until the magazine is empty. It is described as the military weapon that capable of fully automatic fire. It is also known as machine guns that will fire until it is runs out of ammunition. Fully automatic guns in the hands of private citizens are very rare and heavily regulated. In the United States and elsewhere around the world, these weapons are likely to be found only in the battlefield. The example of fully automatic weapons that I can include here is assault rifle. It is the standard modern service in the armies. Next one, a semi-automatic firearm can be described as the civilian version of a military gun, which less capable of rapid fire. It is not a machine gun, and it only fires one shot for each press of the trigger. And this type of weapon, which is a semi-automatic weapon, are popular in the world of firearms. Pistol, shotguns, and rifles can all have semi-automatic actions. Virtually, every pistol carried by law enforcement officers have the semi-automatic actions because these type of weapons are mostly legal in the most of the countries. There are many kinds of guns in circulation today, and I guess all of you are curious about what the types of guns. So the question is, what are the types of guns? We need to look at the three related categories, which are rifles, shotguns, and handguns. Okay, first of all, I will explain to all of you about the definition of rifle and how rifle acts itself. As we can see in the movies, we can see the movie heroes can do pretty much anything one-handed. But the mere mortal definition of rifle, it can be defined as weapon that should be held with one hand only and should be shouldered for support. Technically speaking, a rifle also has a rifled barrel which will impart the spin of bullet to help it fly straight and true. Also, rifle can only fire one projectile at a time with each press of the trigger. For example, of modern rifles, including hunting models such as the Sable Model 110, modern sporting rifles such as the Smith & Wesson M&P15, and competition target rifles such as the Anshatz. Okay, the next one is shotguns. Like rifles, shotguns are also two-handed firearms which designed to be shouldered uh, for support. Also, a shotgun is designed to fire multiple projectiles with a single press of each trigger. But to be clear, it is not a machine gun. A shotgun can contain multiple shot pellets in each cartridge or shell. To be legal, a true shotgun, in the technical sense, cannot have a barrel shorter than 18 inches. Shotguns are large barrel long guns which can fire a large amount of small steel or lead pellets. With each pull of the trigger, the shot flies from the barrel in a narrow cone-shaped pattern. This dispersal will aid the shooter in hitting small game animals, especially those in flight, such as ducks. Okay, next, we will continue with another type of guns, which is handguns. Um, as the name implies, handguns are designed to be fired from a single hand, although a modern handgun now recommend for two-handed operation unless there are specific reasons to use single hands. Handgun does not have support from shoulder and its barrel length must be under 16 inches. There are two major classifications of handguns such as pistols and revolvers. Okay, the term pistol means a weapon designed to fire a projectile for one or more barrels when held in one hand and having a chamber as an integral part or permanently aligned with the bore and a short stock designed to be gripped by one hand at an angle. Common examples of pistols include the Glock and Smith & Wesson M&P. The last type of guns that I will explain is revolvers. Revolvers is also a handgun and are often to be seen in the hands of cinematic cowboys. And revolvers are the multi-shot handguns which can store up to 7 bullets in a revolving cylinder and mates with the gun barrel and firing mechanism. Revolver's chamber is not permanently integrated or in line with the barrel. Instead, cartridges are stored in chambers bored into a cylinder and rotated into alignment with the barrel as needed. Okay, next I will explain a little bit about bullets. I think you must be curious on how the small pointy pieces of metal can tear into the flesh and other targets. Like fireworks, bullets also rely on a smaller fuse to ignite a larger explosion. That explosion will propel the bullets out of the barrel and fly through the air. As you can see in the picture, at the back is the primer that is like the fuse on a firework. If you pick up a loaded gun and pull the trigger, the gun's metal firing pin will strike the primer and start a small flame at the back of the cartridge. That flame then spreads to the second part, which is the propellant. Propellants are highly explosive gunpowder. When the flame from the primer ignites the propellant, it causes a loud explosion that propels the bullet off its perch atop the cartridge and out the gun at a very high speed. The next part, which is the bullet case, or is also called a shelled casing, is then ejected out the side of the gun. So, how guns work? In the most basic sense, guns work like this. A bullet is loaded into the rear of the barrel, which is a tube connected to the firing pin. What happens mechanically when you pull the trigger is that firing pin is released. It flies forward, striking a tiny explosive charge located in the base of the bullet. That explosion ignites the gunpowder, which is the propellant that is stuck inside the shell casing surrounding the bullet. The pressure change forces the bullet out of the casing and down the barrel toward the target.